everyone. Thank you very much for showing up. Very grateful. So as you can see, I'm going to be doing my senior project about the rock cycle and spiritual growth, transformation through faith. How exciting, guys. So we're going to be starting with showing a little pictures of different rocks, and I'm going to be asking some very simple questions about it. First, what is this rock? You may be wondering. Anyone? Any guesses?
Basalt.
Basalt.
No, no, the name of the rock.
Oh, sorry.
Basalt.
Great job. And what type of rock would this be?
Sedimentary?
No.
What's the other kind?
Igneous.
Yes. What type of igneous?
The first one.
Extrusive. Good job. Next one. What rock is this? Just take a guess.
Granite.
No. Anyone? Anyone wants to try? No? Good job! Yes, what type of rock would this be?
Metamorphic.
No. Anyone wants to take a guess? Very similar to the last one.
Igneous.
What type of igneous?
Starts with an E.
Extrusive. Good
Woo.
job. On to the next one. What is this? Anyone? Just take a guess, guys. No? No?
Gabbro?
Good job.
Oh.
What type of rock would this be? Very similar to the last one with a little spice at the end.
Igneous. Intrusive?
Great job. On to the next one.
That's amphibolitic.
We all, please, come on.
Great job. What type of rock would this be?
Sedimentary.
Another guess? No? I know you want to say it.
Metamorphic.
Great job. Last one. What is this?
Shale.
Great job. Type of rock? There's one left.
Sedimentary.
Same. One short one. Okay. So probably up to now you may be wondering, what am I doing? How are rocks related to Christianity? Well, my goal tonight is that by the end of this presentation, you are going to walk out of this door knowing how rocks relate with Christian faith. So we're going to start with a brief introduction to the rock cycle. So rocks, like people, go through a continuous process of change and transformation. The cycle is made out of three main stages that we already mentioned: igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. Each of these stages represent a form of change or growth. How does this link to Christianity? Well, just like rocks, Christians go through a process of transformation, shaped by challenges, growth, and God's intervention. The Bible talks about spiritual growth and transformation, just as rocks are transformed through natural processes. Little overview of what we're going to go over today. We're going to go over first the three main types of rock and how those connect with Christianity, of course. A little wrap up there with the overall Christian journey, and we end up with the conclusion. Igneous rocks, beginning with fire. Brief description of these rocks. So, igneous rocks form from magma or lava. When molten rock cools and solidifies, these rocks can be formed quickly like lava that cools rapidly after an eruption or slowly deep in earth. How does this connect to Christianity? Well, spiritual birth or new beginning is how I like to call this. So the process of formation under intense heat can represent the initial stages of faith. Just as igneous rocks are forged in fire, Christians often experience a period of refining and testing in the beginning of illustration of how these igneous rocks form. So first of all, the difference between magma and lava is that when it's under the earth, it's called magma, and when there's an eruption and it comes out, then we call it lava. But it's the same exact thing. So when this magma changes his name to lava and cools down and solidifies, it becomes an extrusive igneous rock. But when this happens deep down in the earth, it's called an intrusive igneous rock. How does this connect to me a little? So there was a time in my life when everything changed quickly. A season of intense challenge and growth. I felt like I was thrown into the fire, trying to find my footing in completely new circumstances. Looking back, that season was not easy, but it formed something strong in me, a foundation I still stand on today. Just like molten rock hardened into solid stones, those early struggles gave me strength I didn't know I had. Bible connection, 1 Peter 1:7, so that the tested genuineness of your faith, more precious than gold that perishes through it is tested by fire, may be found to result in praise and glory and honor at the revelation of Jesus Christ. So, trials test and refine faith like gold in fire, which parallels the formation of igneous rocks under intense heat. So, the chosen rock to represent its fellow igneous rock is granite. Give it up for granite. Okay, so granite forms from the slow cooling of magma, slow process that symbolizes the steady growth of a Christian's faith. Regardless of the circumstances, God shapes and molds believers. 2. Sedimentary rocks growth over time. So, quick description of this. Sedimentary rocks form from layers of sediment such as sand, mud, and organic matter that are compressed over time. These layers build up slowly and can contain fossils or remnants of past life. How does this connect to Christianity? Well, this is what I like to call spiritual growth through patience. Ooh. Just like sedimentary rocks form slowly, spiritual growth takes time. The process of layering, where each new layer represents a new experience, lesson, or step in faith, mirrors a Christian's journey towards spiritual maturity. So, not every season of life is intense. Some seasons feel slow, almost unnoticed. Small routines, quiet lessons, everyday choices. For a long time, it seemed like nothing major was happening. But as time passed, I realized that those steady moments were building something lasting inside me, layer by layer. Like sediment forming rock, even the ordinary days were shaping who I was becoming. Anyone can relate to this? Yeah? James 1:4. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. The idea here is that just as sedimentary rocks take time to form, Christians must be patient and let their faith be built over time, layer by layer. And the chosen rock to represent sedimentary rocks is limestone. Give it up for limestone, guys. Okay. So, a little bit about limestone. Each of the layers on the rock can represent the different parts of a believer's life. each experience adding to their faith journey. The rock's texture that you cannot feel, picture, changes with each layer just as a Christian's heart can become softer and more refined with time. Last one, personal favorite, metamorphic rocks, transformation under pressure. Quick description of this, metamorphic rocks are from when existing rocks are subjected to heat and pressure, causing them to change in mineral composition and structure. How does this connect to Christianity? Well, this is what I like to call sanctification and the refining process. So this stage represents spiritual transformation, where a Christian goes through trials, struggles, or intense challenges, emerging stronger and more refined in their faith, just like metamorphic rocks are transformed under pressure. So, there was a season that felt like being under immense pressure, like everything familiar was being stripped away or reshaped. It was painful at times, but that pressure did not just leave scars. It created something new. Like soft rock transformed into marble, I realized that what felt like breaking was actually remade. And the strength and beauty that came from it were worth the struggle. Anyone relates to this? Romans 5:3-4. Does this one seem familiar? Anyone was here at camps? Very good. Lovely. Yeah. Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope. The pressure faced during trials transform believers much like how heat and pressure transforms rocks. And the chosen rock to represent the metamorphic rock is marble. Give it up for marble. Okay, so like a Christian's life, the marble is more beautiful and polished after it has been through pressure and heat. Through trials and suffering, believers are shaped more into the image of Christ. So you can see the little limestone that we have already talked about, that after it's subjected to heat, it crystallizes for a marble. Isn't that amazing? Let's wrap up a little bit. So the overall Christian journey continues transformation. So just as rocks are constantly changing and evolving, Christians are also in a constant state of transformation. The rock cycle is ongoing. Igneous rocks form, sedimentary rocks build, and metamorphic rocks continue to evolve. In the same way, the Christian journey is continuous, from conversion to growth to transformation. As Philippians 1:6 says, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. God is always at work in believers, continually shaping and refining them. NMCS. How do I connect these to NMC, right? Well, the reason why I have NMCS here is that I wanted to comment on a very important truth. As I just talked about, until this point of the presentation, Christians constantly go through these metaphoric stages of the rock cycle. That includes the time we spend at school. Being so that on our time here, we experience many of those moments. From changing, the scary moments where nothing seems like it's going on, and also those moments of breaking and intense pressure that calls for strength. Well, the key point here is that this school provides us with the perfect environment to become marble. As this is a place that has as a main priority to give us enough kinetic energy, we're a limestone, we need kinetic energy, which is just temperature being passed from an ice to This is a place that has the main priority to give enough kinetic energy to become a beautiful marble. That's the goal, right? To be a beautiful marble. Okay, well, that's what this place does. Conclusion. I encourage everyone here today to see your own life through the lens of the rock cycle. Whether you are in a period of growth, challenge, or transformation, each stage is part of God's process of molding you into a stronger and more faithful follower of Christ. I also would like you to reflect on your own spiritual journey. Are you in a phase of growth, transformation, or testing? And how can you embrace the process knowing that God is using it